Welcome to Chop Chop Culinary Skills Training Video Series. I'm Therese Allen, author of The Flavor of Wisconsin for Kids.
And I'm Susan Peterman, seasoned nutrition consultant and retired director of school nutrition for Middleton School District.
In this video training series, we'll show you how to use Wisconsin-grown fruits and vegetables in your school meal programs. Serving these local foods to your students is a win-win for child nutrition and local farmers.
We are all searching for ways to serve fresher, more interesting menus for students. Wisconsin-grown vegetables and fruits look, smell, and taste appealing, and with a few helpful techniques can easily be added to your lunch line.
This short training will demonstrate simple skills and recipes to create delicious meals made with local products that your students will love to eat.
Chop chop, let's head to the kitchen. Welcome to the kitchen at Middleton Cross Plains Cromrie Middle School. Today we're going to learn how to incorporate Wisconsin-grown winter squash into our menus. We'll demonstrate how to cook them, then mash and also puree squash. We'll also show you how to incorporate shredded squash so it will be visible and credible in your school nutrition recipes. We'll work in two stages with our squash. First, we need to cook the squash. As usual, we'll start with clean, washed hands. The squash should be washed under warm, running water to remove any field debris before preparation. Let's learn how to roast squash first. There are two ways to do this. Begin by heating your oven to 425 degrees. Squash can be cut in half. I recommend that squash be roasted whole. When we roast the squash whole, it's necessary to provide an escape for steam during cooking. Simply pierce the skin of the squash in the widest part and lay it on its side for cooking. Now we're ready for the preheated oven. And this baking process should take somewhere between 50 minutes to an hour. The squash will be soft and you'll be able to press it with your hot pad. Remove the squash from the oven and cool briefly. Now we're going to half the squash once you can handle it, and we'll use a sturdy spoon to scrape out the seeds and the membranes. Then scoop out the squash flesh and save it for the next step. You may also cool the squash using standard cooling techniques and store it in plastic containers in recipe size amounts. Squash can be frozen for up to 6 months. When it's time to use it, plan at least 2 days thawing time in the cooler for this wonderful economic Wisconsin food. From here, we'll make our mash and our puree. When the squash has cooled a bit, but is still warm, spoon it out of the skins and into a large bowl. Use a hand masher or mixer to mash like this. You can see that squash mashes very, very easily once it is done. Now for a simple side. Add butter, brown sugar, cinnamon, and salt, and then a little pepper. Other additions that will add wonderful flavor include rosemary, sage, honey, or Wisconsin maple syrup. Any of these make a tasty and colorful side that meets the requirement for the red-orange vegetable subgroup. Winter squash mash can be made ahead and then reheated in the oven. This dish also keeps well in a steam table. Very similar to the mash technique is pureeing, which gives winter squash a very smooth texture. This is an immersion blender, and it works great for puree. If you have a small kitchen, you might want to use this home scale version. For larger operations, there is an institutional size, much larger, that will work better for you. The rotating blade is at the end of the wand, and there is an on and off button always on the top. To get a smooth puree, work the blender up and down throughout the mixture. Pureed squash can be used in recipes like harvest squash muffins or butter nutty mac and cheese. Try it as a base for pizza or pasta sauce or in a squash soup. We love squash, but it can be tricky to credit. Pureed winter squash only credits toward the vegetable meal pattern requirement when used as a soup base. But winter squash is so flexible. You can add visible shredded winter squash to your muffins, casseroles, and other recipes to allow your pureed squash to credit toward the red-orange vegetable subgroup. One more way to work with winter squash is to peel and cube it. Raw or roasted cubes can be frozen for later use. Cube squash can be mixed with other veggies used in soups, grain dishes, and even salads.
Did you know that a lot of locally grown nutritious fruits and vegetables don't look good enough to be sold in the grocery store? We call these cosmetically imperfect seconds. They're perfectly fresh and good to use in school meals and in any meals. They just look a little different than what you're used to.
Winter squash presents an excellent opportunity to use cosmetically imperfect seconds. Many commercially grown winter squash have minor imperfections, dings or notches in their skin, or funny shapes that prevent them from being sold in the grocery store. These cosmetic imperfections allow you to get local, sustainably grown squash at a better price. All you have to do is cut away the imperfections. If the flaws are in the skin, you don't have to do anything. Simply scoop out the flesh.
Wisconsin's farmers are an important part of the state's landscape, food system, and economy. By using locally grown fruits and vegetables, you're not only sourcing the freshest ingredients possible, but you're helping to directly support Wisconsin's farm families and businesses across the state. Now, let's meet a farmer and learn about a successful relationship with one of your school nutrition peers.
Locally grown squash, there's actually a tremendous amount of variety in the different squash that are grown, and as you can see some of them here. Many of them with different textures and different flavor profiles. And the nice thing about squash is that we do have summer squash, but in the fall is really when we get our winter squash, and they store so well, so there's availability, an extended availability, which allows you nice, fresh, locally grown product throughout and well into the first semester, maybe even into the second semester of school.
And we've also had locally grown product that has actually been frozen, and we've been able to bring that back in the months between January and April in either a cube product or a mashed product. Mm-hmm. For us, one of the biggest challenges is simply getting enough product of really any kind to feed all of the kids at one time. When we look at things like squash, we're probably looking at 500 or 600 pounds. When we look at things like cherry tomatoes, we're looking at 230 pounds. And that's why we rely sometimes on the frozen product, because we know that that's coming in, and then we can pull out of that frozen inventory. And like I said, that's local.
That's also where we've been able to help you at Apple Blossom. We grow, pick, pack, and distribute. We also aggregate, so we have other growers. I remember the Ratatouille project we did with you, 330 pounds of eggplant. That is a lot of eggplants. So, first is to take a look at what our fields look like, and then it's starting to reach out to our other growers that are all local growers. And by golly, we were able to put together 330 pounds of fresh eggplant for 1,200 pounds of Ratatouille.
We ended up making 1,250 pounds of finished product, so that meant really that we had to start with closer to 2,500 pounds of raw product between the eggplant, the tomatoes, the peppers. 95% of that was actually local and fresh. So
it's a fun challenge. I love those
it's a
challenges
fun
you
challenge.
sometimes throw at us. And you need how much? All right.
And this year our
Let me
goal
work
is
on
to
it.
actually make more.
Oh, great.
So, yeah,
Okay.
so we'll be looking for a few more eggplants this year.
Okay, very good. I'll better get on the phone.
That's right.
And we appreciate the support. It's important to the economy and obviously growers. I mean, growers are taking that money and there's a multiplying effect in the community. But for us, we're just passionate about kids in general and education. And I think that nobody really would argue that a healthy kid is a smarter kid and they do better in the classroom. And so we just love the fact that we can bring good tasting stuff. It's locally grown, it's healthy. And we believe that that impact on kids from a nutritional perspective really does help them, improves quality of life, and certainly helps them in school as well.
Thank you for joining us today as we mashed and pureed winter squash. We hope you enjoy using this new skill in creative ways with a variety of Wisconsin-grown fruits and vegetables. I hope you've enjoyed learning more about using local Wisconsin products in your school menus. Please complete the short survey. Your feedback helps us support you as we meet evolving nutrition standards.
Have fun introducing these delicious Wisconsin fruits and vegetables into your school meal program. The complete video training series and other farm to school resources are available on the CIAS website. Thank you again to our sponsors at USDA, Team Nutrition, Organic Valley, and NutriSlice, who made these videos possible.
The Chop Chop Training Series is a partnership of CISA Purchasing, the Center for Integrated Agricultural Systems, and the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction.
A special thanks to our gold sponsor, Organic Valley.